and welcome back, everyone. My name is Dr. Yasmim Flores, and this is the second part of my interview with Mr. Noah Garcia. Hello and welcome back, although you didn't go anywhere, that's okay. But thank you for sticking around, everyone. And if you haven't checked out our part one, you can take a look at that on YouTube and watch that. And so we left off with the Neapolitan sixth chord.
Yes,
Would you like to explain to everyone what the Neapolitan sixth chord is?
Of course, I know it as I call it a flat major second.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. It's
yes.
a flat second, but in major. So yeah, and with the sixth, the first inversion. So yeah, it was a challenge for me to learn. But I think once I got it down, a lot of times for me what makes it easy is just making it as simple as possible.
Right.
So when I learned it, I said, okay, well, flat major second, it's literally telling me. So if I'm in the key of C, I know it's a D flat, or it's a D natural with F sharp, A, and then with the F sharp in the bass.
Right.
Making it as simple as possible makes it a lot easier.
Yes, yeah. And I'll tell you, so if and when, eventually, if you end up teaching music theory.
Probably will.
Yes, in 10 to 20 years, yes. So I have found that I have to write bullets or numbers, right, and make like little instructions. That's always, the students love that. They love that for now. Heaven knows in 20 years, right? I mean, things are gonna be way different. And then also being very methodical and clear about what I'm describing. So you're talking jargon, right? You know me, I know you, we both know what you're talking about. But if it's a brand new audience to this flat major 2, what is Noah Garcia talking about? So he's talking about the Roman numeral. When you look at the Roman numerals, when you do music analysis and you put the key in the left, let's say C minor, right? Keep it nice and simple. C minor, 3 flats in the key signature. I'm bopping along in my C minor. And then I approach this Roman numeral that has a flat sign with a capital Roman numeral 2. That is the Neapolitan 6, and it's also going to have the number 6 off to the side. So what that is literally in the key of C minor, that's a D flat major chord.
Yes, it is.
Right? So it's taking the second scale degree, which is D, lowering it by a half step. That's why you have the flat in front of the Roman numeral. And then in first inversion, it wants the F in the bass,
yes,
right? So really cool sound. And again, if you're at home and you're tickling the ivories as you're watching this TV show, you can give it a whirl because it is just this sort of like left turn when you hear it that you're like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. What road did we go down? Is Frankenstein around the corner? And yeah, it is a very old school, like 1960s, cheesy Halloween sound. And then the augmented 6 chords. Now those, when I taught those, I had to like have a piece of paper in front of me and methodically. There's 2 ways that I know of to teach them. And the first way I taught it was not working out for everybody. Everybody was like, what? So they're each based off of another chord, okay? And so I don't know if that's how you were taught. The other way is to literally just memorize what you're raising and what you're lowering.
That's how I teach, I guess. We're taught a certain way. I teach myself. I just think I got to memorize everything.
Right.
It makes it so much easier.
Right. So if you're the kind of person that just wants to know, like, just tell me what I have to raise and what I have to lower, right? You can do it that way. Just get out an index card, raise the 6, lower this, lower that, whatever. But the way I learned it, and so I'm stuck in that way, is like, and now I have to remember the augmented 6 chords. They're based on, is it the minor 4/6, the Italian? The Italian 6 is based on the minor 4/6.
Yeah, so the way I remember too is because they resolve to the 5. There's 2 notes resolving to the 5 this
Correct.
time instead of just 1.
Right, yes, and so yeah, they go out this way, right? So you can look at it that way too. That's also helpful so that they know the direction that the notes are moving in. But yeah, and so God bless Dr. Vasquez.
Oh, yes.
Because she is teaching that class. She is also stunning. We have a great staff. We have a great faculty at EPCC. I can never brag enough about the talent. We had our faculty grand a couple weeks ago, and so check that out. We do that fall and spring where our faculty perform for you all. And we did $5 tickets, which is going to go to scholarships. And so we performed, I performed, Miss Alkin performed, Mr. Narlock performed, etc. And so just the amount of talent there is always just so incredible to me.
It's insane.
People think, I think, when they think of El Paso and the music scene, they usually think of a couple of things. First off, UTEP. Right off the bat, it's UTEP. They think there's also a small jazz scene. We have Billy Towns. We have Mr. Lechuga still plays locally here. Mr. Olivas, the music store owner. Yes, who's also stunning. And then there's El Paso Community College, and it's one of those places where it's perfect for a couple reasons. Number one, cost efficient. You're not paying what you're going to pay at UTEP. If you're going to dabble in it, if you're going to like kind of test the waters, like I'm going to try music, like why not? Great place to start.
Perfect, yes.
It's our logo. That's our slogan here at EPCC. Great place to start and finish. And it really is, because if you find out it's not for you, right? And you were in Music Theory 1 and you're like, oh my gosh, pressing the brakes, then you didn't spend as much money. If you need something tailored to your schedule, if you need these sorts of things, we are, I feel like, more flexible also.
Definitely.
In that respect, right? And we work with our students a lot more with their schedules. I currently have a student right now that, if she's going to play that same day as the lesson, she don't want to have her lesson that day. So I'm like, okay, all right, we're not going to have the lesson because we don't want to stress out. I've had students that have to work, so they have to shift around, and the schedule changes every week. Maybe this is Noah's story. I don't know.
It might be.
Right? Yeah. And so we have that flexibility that we try to keep for our students because we understand things happen. And so EPCC is really beautiful in that respect, that we're always trying to kind of accommodate everything. So, Music Theory 1, Sight Singing 1, which I taught you Sight Singing 2. Yes, that was it. And that one you also eased through. Here's a question that comes up. Did you sing when you were little?
Never did.
No.
Never sang a day in my life.
Really?
Really, it's not a strong suit.
Okay. You did okay, though, in sight singing. You could hear the pitch. And so when you were little, did your parents ever sing to you?
No, I'm actually, in my immediate family, I'm the only musical one. It's not until you get to my aunts and uncles that the music kind of kicks in. But as far as my family, I'm the only one.
Oh, you're the only one. So nobody sang to you as a child?
No, man.
In school, elementary school, did you guys have a music class?
I jumped around elementary schools here and there. I took a little recorder class, if anything, and that's about it.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So, and so you took recorder, no choir, no glee club?
No, man.
None of those things. That's awesome. And so where do you think, and it could be from the aunts and uncles, that strong sense of pitch? I'm a perfectionist. I'm very hard on myself. So I know how things are supposed to sound. I listen to it over and over again. Like with the Didgeridoo concerto that you just heard me perform a few weeks ago, I must have heard a recording of that at least 100-something times. I gave somebody on YouTube a ton of views, so hopefully they get some good revenue off of that. But I am very like particular about pitch. A lot of times, like if I'm playing with an orchestra, I'll take my tuner and I'll have it on at all times just so I can really know what it's supposed to sound like. And I've always been super strict on how I'm supposed to sound. That's awesome.
So yes, droning too. Droning is very important for everybody who plays strings.
Okay.
When you put a drone on, so like
a drone, yes.
A drone, yes. You put the drone on, that'll fix pretty much all your problems.
Yeah, and for those of you out there, I mean, a lot of these things that I didn't have growing up because there was no YouTube, right? Hello. A drone, you can find YouTube recordings of a drone. Like
you
if you
can.
just type in drone and whatever the pitch is, if it's a D4, right, you can type, and the number has to do with the octave, right? So if you're in the 4th octave, type in drone D4, you'll find a video. Sometimes that'll be an hour, 2 hours of just D4. And people will listen to this not only for tuning purposes, some people do it for meditation. So there's certain pitches that they actually prefer to listen to because they're, I don't know if they're more relaxing. That part I don't quite know, right? That's a little outside of my realm. But I find that so interesting though. And you're absolutely right. That's great training. The first time I was introduced to that, Trent Kinniston, saxophonist, had a book. It was a part 2 to his scale book. And it was a CD. Because again, this is pre-YouTube, right? So it came with the CD. You would pop in the CD and it would just play these pitches for a really long time. And then he would have you play like, okay, you're going to play this note on top of this. Can you get rid of the waves? So if you're little at home, if you're in 6th grade, 7th grade, and you're wondering like, they say I'm out of tune, and it's like, calm down, go to YouTube, get the drone. Certain intervals. You can also pull out a tuner, like if you're playing octaves, you're playing the same pitch, or if you're playing fifths, and the tuner should be on 0. But you can also hear the waves. So that's what we're listening for, right? The slower the wave, that means you're starting to get real close to the note. And finally, it's sitting there, and so you're really trying to get rid of those waves. That's important. When did you start that?
Very recently, actually.
Oh, wow.
You'd think I'd been on it for a while,
Yeah.
but no, I started it last semester,
Okay.
not summer semester, but the spring semester.
Uh-huh.
Ian Narlock told me, he said, if you want to get untuned, you have a little bit of issues with the pitch, just do this. And I mean, before that, I would just stick my tuner and say, okay, this is where it needs to match on the.
Right, right, yes. And that's wonderful. Now, the question is, when a student can't hear it. Right. And this is where, yeah, we have to, the thing I found, and you can take this advice and put it on a shelf, because you're not going to need it. You're not going to need it. But one day, you're going to need it. When a student cannot find the pitch. Ding, ah, ding, ah. No. What I have found helpful, and you might find a better way, and when you do, you send me an email immediately,
I will let you know.
right? If you find a better way. I find where they are, right? And so, da 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 da, oh, dum 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 dum, this is where you are. Now, can you work your way down to where I was, right? And it takes a lot of training. I have heard people get better, but here's another misconception. People think, if you ask any music teacher, they'll tell you that a big percentage of the population must be tone deaf, like from teaching classes, etc. It's like 1%.
It's very small.
It's very small. And so it's not that people are tone deaf. It's that they've either A, never had to use their voice before, so they're not familiar physically with the feeling of singing, right? Number one. Number two, matching pitch. I think the other thing I've noticed with my students is sometimes they sing over the piano, right? So suddenly they can no longer hear the piano. And I don't know if they're expecting to fall in line with the piano, right? That something magical, like lights will turn on, like, I don't know. But what happens is sometimes people will over-sing. So this is where I'll tell them, okay, sing a little bit softer, try to fit into the piano pitch, right? Or whatever mechanism I'm using. And that sometimes also helps. So those are the two things. Sight singing and ear training, if a person does have trouble with it, usually takes longer. It's usually like, okay, let's get through it. And sadly, one of the things that's always frustrated me about school in general is that you're married to the 16 weeks.
Yes, you are.
Yes. So come finals, which is coming up for us soon here, come finals, it's like, okay, did you learn stuff? Did you learn everything on the checklist? Okay, good. You're golden to move on to the next part. But 16 weeks is not a very long time.
It is not at all.
No, college is such intense study. That's amazing. What are you, so currently, because now you're struggling a little bit more. The music theory was not, yeah. So what are you doing to kind of balance that?
Studying a lot more. I definitely took some time in between classes. So I have a 50-minute period in between each class.
Oh, nice.
So I'll leave sight singing and theory and say, okay, well, this got me, so let me work on this, or this is part of the homework, let me look at it because I got lost, let me read back in the textbook. And every class is like that. I have a little gap in between each class so that I get time to
smart.
I get time to actually look at it, because I do work on the side. So when pretty much after school, my free time is out the window.
Yeah.
It's out the window.
Right.
So I made my schedule with the gaps in between classes so that I get that time to say, okay, let's work on this, let's look at this.
Are you part-time or full-time in your job?
Full-time.
You're full-time. I have found this to be the case with so many students. This was a whole discussion we had a couple months ago when the semester started. And the students were commenting on the homework. They're like, Dr. Flores, I work a full-time job. And so in my head, going back to the 1900s, I worked part-time, right? I did my 16 hours a week or whatever at Whataburger. And then the rest was for me to practice, do homework, whatever. And so the thought of having a 40-hour work week plus the classes, kudos to those businesses that allow you to work around your school schedule, right?
Sure.
But yeah, it's like, so then you have to be very strict with your time.
Very strict, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah. So what do you do? What do you enjoy doing outside of
golf
school
a lot? I like playing some golf.
Golf,
some
that's
tennis.
right.
And I mean, playing my instruments is already, I play a lot of guitar, I play a lot of piano, yeah.
Oh, nice. And so you've added guitar. When did you start guitar?
I got a guitar for Christmas. It was my first instrument before the bass, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I never picked it up until a few years back, and I kind of just learned little songs I like. Like I said, I'll look up a song I like, and I'll try and pick it up as fast as I can. So, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's pretty much just for my own entertainment.
Okay, that's very good. But that's a great skill to have. And so are you going to do music performance or music ed?
Music ed, but
Okay.
Narlik is doing a little convincing and trying to get me to do performance as well.
Okay.
A little bit of double major. That's what he did. He did as well. And I do plan, once I go to move on to another university, I'll probably focus less on work and start, actually getting my stuff together in music.
Right, that's awesome. Yeah, and I suggest, I mean, it's up to you, right? It's entirely up to you, but music ed, if you are going to go that route, my recommendation, and I had this whole conversation with the previous guest, is to learn the other instruments, right? The first couple of jobs you get, and I can speak more about this city, usually is 6th grade, 7th grade, the middle school jobs, right?
For sure.
And so you start off there, the other directors get to know you, they go, oh, how about this Noah kid, who just graduated? And so that's when you start to kind of build a reputation, you do your UIL, you get your grade 1, now they start kind of entertaining you for the high school classes, et cetera, et cetera. And so I have found that the best directors, and again, I'm speaking from band, but it's that they play multiple instruments.
Yes, for sure.
So in an orchestra, if you are going to be an orchestra director, conductor, it's not just the strings.
It's not.
Now you have to learn the whole symphony orchestra. You have to learn the winds. And so I strongly recommend it. Music ed majors are required to do a woodwind class, a brass class. I had to do string class, which I vaguely remember. I just remember it was like 8 a.m. and I was like, what is happening right now? Right? And then, in percussion class, which I enjoyed thoroughly. Yeah, that
I was in percussion, actually.
Oh, nice.
I was in band middle school and a little bit of high school, too.
Okay.
So I've picked up pretty much every instrument. All string instruments, I can I can get away with a scale or two. I get away with the
Yeah.
easy pieces. And as far as band instruments, I can really say I've only learned a little bit of trumpet, and that's about it. And percussion
Okay.
as well. I was in percussion.
That's awesome. I suggest going back to trumpet, picking it up, getting a little stronger at it, and then picking up the woodwinds. The problem with the woodwinds, sadly, unlike brass and strings, with brass and strings, you kind of learn one and you kind of get the idea of the rest, right? The woodwinds are all different. And so then it's like everything is its own little world with its own little world of problems. Clarinet and sax pair well. The double reeds, oboe, bassoon, and then flute is just its own little, its own little thing. But I highly recommend that because, again, the best conductors I've had, the best teachers, they know a little bit of everything, and so they can either sympathize with that section, like, oh, that's a really rough passage, like, can we, and then if you're a smart director, high school, for example, sometimes they'll do like a divisi, where, okay, you play beat 1, you play beat 2, you play beat 3, you play beat 4, where you have to kind of divide it up amongst the section to make it sound coherent, to make it sound clean. And that's the sort of thing that somebody that knows the idiosyncrasies of each of the instruments will be able to kind of pull from that and go, okay, yeah, let's make that easier. So that's awesome. So North Carolina, the other one was Texas Tech, UTSA.
Yes.
And again, going back to our first episode, these are the places that Noah's entertaining for his transition. What I'm afraid to ask, but what was your major before this?
It's always been music.
Oh, it's always been music.
Always been music.
Okay.
It's just that at UTEP I got stuck with taking general studies just because I registered a little late.
Okay, got it. Okay.
But music has always been.
Okay, that was it. When did you discover that was your calling?
Senior year. It was my senior year. I discovered it. I used to be all around. I used to do all sorts of things. I was just having fun. And it wasn't until I would go to practice, I'd say, man, I'm tired of this. Man, I'm tired of this. Tired of this. And orchestra was always the one class that I always never got tired of.
Yeah.
I always loved it. I always loved to do more too. I most of my other things I was bare minimum. Whatever got me by was good enough for me.
Right.
And orchestra was I always wanted to be the best. I always wanted to be better. I mean, I always pushed myself. I joined the youth symphony because the high school orchestra wasn't enough. And even then, right there, I think it took me like 2-3 weeks to become the first chair. It was pretty quick. And yeah, because I mean, if I see someone better than me, I don't want them to stay there.
Right, right. So you have that competitive edge.
I'm very competitive.
Yes, that's awesome. And so you knew your senior year. Can you pinpoint the moment that what was a piece of music?
I can. Okay. It was Dragonetti's Concerto.
Okay.
Dragonetti's Concerto was my solo for solo and ensemble. And the year before, I'd played a sonata, and it was my first time going to state and getting a 2. Every year, I'd gotten the 1 at state.
Oh.
And my junior year, which was the COVID year, where we didn't have class or anything like that.
Right. Yeah.
So I can be honest, I practiced a lot less. Once my senior year hit, I said, this is it. This is the last year. And this concerto is going to get me. This is going to be my college audition. This is going to be everything. This has to be like the best performance I can put on.
Right.
And I can just remember it was sometime in December, and I'm sitting in the practice room, and I'm just playing my piece, and I'm going over one passage in the middle that I cannot get, which is like harmonics galore, which is where you don't push on the string, you just press on it, and it makes a super high note. And they're frustrating to get when you don't know, especially not having lessons. I had no guidance on it, and I kind of just had to YouTube and learn everything my way through it.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there and I'm super frustrated, and I thought, man, but you know what? This is like a great thing to be frustrated with, because I could be frustrated with, real worse problems that people have in real life. And I'm sitting here upset about this music, and as mad as I am that I can't get this one part, I'm still happier than I would be if I was super happy not having to do this.
Right. I love that. So that realization, and I was asked the same question about a couple of months ago, and I told them the exact moment, and it is when I can't explain it, but isn't it fascinating that the universe somehow sends you a message?
Oh, definitely.
Like, and then you just kind of get the spark. You're like, This is it. This is my calling. And so with me now, I've told, I think, several of my students that I've been in it for so many years. There are certain things that are mundane, right? Like if I have to play Christmas music, I'll be honest with you. So I play with the El Paso Clarinet Quartet. And just to really irk Stephen Montes, we pull out Mariah Carey for the Christmas. Anytime we have to do Christmas, and he sees it, he starts rolling his eyes like, oh gosh, what's the name of her Christmas tune?
All I Want.
All I Want for Christmas. Boy, he was furious because I found it on Sheet Music Plus. And I printed it and I purchased it and I passed it out to everybody. I put it on his stand and I said, we're doing it. And so I got to play the bass part, which was really awesome because I was doing bass clarinet. And oh my gosh, he was so furious. And so, yeah, that stuff, you know, it's cheesy. You do it for the crowds, everything like that. And I think that's what's kind of started to burn me out is those concerts, right? But then there's pieces like the Brahms Quintet and the Brahms Trio and some of these gorgeous pieces that just drip of beauty. Like you can't, and when you listen to it, or anytime I play Brahms, anytime, there's something new that I never realized before. It's those kinds of pieces that are so well written that every time you return to it, you're like, this is like a brand new piece.
It is,
right?
It is. I got to play a Brahms piece last year with the Youth Symphony and with the UTEP Orchestra as well. I forget what it was called. But I just remember we learned it with the Youth Symphony Orchestra. And playing it through, it was like, wow, this is something else. This is really hard. Probably one of the harder pieces I've played. And it was awesome though. It was beautiful. We played the concert. Everybody had good things to say.
Right.
And then when I went to UTEP, I hadn't touched the piece maybe about only 2 weeks. And brand new thing. Like it felt like I'd never seen it before in my life.
Right. Isn't it amazing?
It's amazing.
There are pieces like that you just go like, wow, like, and it's so engaging.
Oh, yes, for sure.
And you want so desperately for other people to feel that same passion that you feel, and so, and when you play it well, it shows. It absolutely shows. So Noah, sadly, our time is up, right? But it was lovely having you on the show, and whenever you come back to El Paso after you go away, wherever you wind up. You'll have to come back on the show and talk to me and tell me how you're doing.
I'm excited for that. I'll keep it in the books.
Yes, absolutely. Well, good luck next semester. And if any of you all are interested in our music program here at EPCC, check us out on epcc.edu/academics/music. And you can also check us out on Facebook and Instagram at EPCC Music. My name is Dr. Yasmim Flores. If you have any questions, send me an email or give me a call, extension 2361. Thanks, everybody, and great to see everyone. We will see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.